Okay, so welcome everybody. I guess we'll just go ahead and start. So the reason for us getting together, hello Dean Houghton, our old friend from Texas. So anyways, the reason for this is for us to talk a little bit about the OgenaShield Air and Surface Purifier. It was developed by the company called Puraclenz in the United States. They own the patents to the formula. Our company, Ogena, we have the exclusive marketing rights for selling their products into all markets in Canada as a master distributor, and we have the exclusive rights to the animal health market in all of North America. We're actually a part owners of Puraclenz. We've invested in Puraclenz, so we're working really well with them. They've been amazing to work with. The unit itself is something that has been, the technology behind it has been on the market for about 30 years. It's been around for quite a while. It's called photocatalytic oxidation. I'm going to get the slide going just so you can see. So it's called photocatalytic oxidation. And basically, it was originally developed for use on the International Space Station. They needed something to help keep the air purified. And they actually just recently found out they were trying to find something that could eliminate a gas that's created by plants when you're growing plants indoors that could over time cause issues with the air quality for the astronauts. So that's what it was originally developed for. The technology really hasn't grabbed in the world yet today because of a couple of reasons, but the main one is because the units developed ozone. So most of us already know that ozone is not very healthy for us. It's just not a healthy product to breathe in. It's considered irritating to the lungs, and I think they know over long-term exposure it can be damaging to the lungs. So it's a product that, although it's been out in the marketplace, there's been a lot of companies selling these units, and there still is today. The vast majority of people selling ionizing systems in the market today are still selling units that generate ozone. Our technology is a breakthrough in that the unit does not use or develop any ozone whatsoever. I'll get into that a little bit later. But if you're looking at products on the market and you want to compare and see if they do generate ozone, a sure sign will be if you see a notice on their website. If you're looking at their US website, it will say not available for sale in California. If you see that, you know for sure the unit generates ozone. If anybody has questions, feel free to fire away. We're going to have a nice bit of time to talk at the end of the meeting and answer questions. So if you can hold off till then, that's great. But if not, just jump in. Don't hesitate. I'll try and pay attention to the chat line. So one of the things here that's really, really important, and why I'm saying here HEPA is not enough. I don't think everything we've got out there today isn't enough. It's pretty clear that existing technologies are really struggling with dealing with COVID. They're not enough. And one of the biggest reasons is because of the misconceptions around the use of HEPA filters. I would never tell somebody not to buy a HEPA filter. They are the gold standard. They've been the best available in the marketplace today. They really do help. So there's no way I would ever say don't buy a HEPA filter. But there's really big misconceptions, and companies that sell these things play into it and don't share, I think, the information that they should share from my viewpoint. So HEPA systems, most people think that HEPA systems kill 99.97% of the viruses and bacteria that are in the air. So the first thing to recognize, and I'm sure some of you already do, but they don't kill anything. HEPA filters are filters. They capture, and they're not designed to capture viruses and bacteria. They capture viruses and bacteria because they capture particulate matter. And viruses and bacteria just happen to like to cling to particulate matter. So by rote, if you're capturing particulates, you are capturing viruses and bacteria. So they still really help, but nowhere near as much as what people are led to believe. When you see the advertisements will say they capture 99.97% of particulate matter, but many people, as I said, will think that means viruses and bacteria. But in reality, that's a measurement of the air coming out of the filter itself, right on the opposite side, the output side of the filter. And the problem with that is that in order for it, it won't capture that much of the whole room. If you have a room designed for HEPA, and I'm going to take a surgical suite as a perfect example. Surgical suites in hospitals are designed for HEPA. The shape of the room, the size of the room, the placement of the furniture, the HVAC system, the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system used for that room, all of it is designed for HEPA so that they can make sure that all of the air in that room, every single bit of it, goes through the HEPA filter somewhere between 12 and 20 times per hour. In a case like that, you're going to get fantastic 99%, capture of particulate matter in the air. But that's not our world. That's not the world any of us live in, unless you're unfortunate enough to need surgery. So if you put a HEPA system into an average space, and some of you may have heard this, it's called the ASHRA, it's the American Association of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers. They're the governing body for the development of indoor air quality standards in both residential and commercial spaces in North America. Their standards are used by the EPA in the United States and Health Canada. They use their standards. If you go into the ASHRA's most recent position statement on air purification, they will say that in an average room space, they know through science that HEPA systems will capture about 50% of the particulate matter on average in a room, not 99.97%. I mean, that's a huge difference. And it's part of the reason why, diseases are still spreading. For us, it's important to do all these things. It's important to clean, it's important to disinfect, it's important to wear masks, it's important to, HEPA's help, they obviously do. But they're not doing as much as we'd hope they could do. And this technology, now that people at Puraclenz have found a way to what we think is dramatically improve it. This is something that can make a huge difference in the amount of viruses and bacteria in the air, and even mold, not only in the air but also on surfaces. So the other issue of this, see this picture here? This was done by the University of Cambridge last year, and they were able to visualize somebody coughing in a room. When you look at the red droplets in this area, that's the large droplets. Green's the medium. They fall down to the ground, but it's the blue and purple that cause a problem. These blue and purple in this range here, it's been shown that these can travel 10 meters, which is 35 feet for Dean Houghton, who's on our American friend who's on the call. So that's about 35 feet. And the problem is, even if you have a HEPA filter running in that room, what happens if you're the person standing in between the sick person and the HEPA filter while those viruses are traveling through the air on the way to the HEPA filter, hopefully on the way to the HEPA filter? That's the issue. Our systems put ions into the air similar to how if there's a lightning storm. So when you think about ions in the air, there's many different kinds of ions, just like, just thinking about things that are in the air. There's so many things in the air. Look at how many different radio stations there are, how many different television stations, CB radios, wireless internet, how many Bluetooth. There's so many things in the air when you think about how many pathogens there are in the air. All of these things we can't see. We can't see, and you don't see the ions either. And there is a possibility. We have shown that these ions are a good thing in the air. That they can actually kill the viruses and bacteria and mold that are in the air around us. And we've done it using studies, and Puraclenz has done it using studies that are done at the highest standard. They're called GLP rated studies, which is general laboratory practices. I'll go through the test results a bit later, but GLP rated studies are put in place. You have to do these types of studies if you want to get your product approved by the FDA in the United States as a medical device. So our hope was that we would get these, that we would hit a 99.9% kill in the air. And if we had hit that, these units would have been approved as a medical device in the United States. Just so you're aware, there's no such approval rating like that in Canada for purifiers. So there wasn't even something for us to try for. unfortunately. But also, unfortunately, in the test, we had 99.4%. So we didn't make it, but we still got some fantastic numbers. 99.4% kill is excellent. When you consider, even before COVID, we're all used to being told to wash our hands, and that washing your hands is the single biggest benefit the average person can do, biggest thing the average person can do to help cut down the spread of disease by washing your hands. So when you're washing your hands, you're typically not killing anything. You're taking those viruses and bacteria and germs and mold, whatever you have in your hands, and you're washing them away, and you're washing them down the drain. So there's still a huge benefit. And when people wash their hands properly, we've all seen those videos of doing this and that and playing with your thumbs for a little while. When you wash your hands properly, studies have shown that you're removing about 90% of the pathogens from your hands. And that's why HEPA filters are good, because they remove things from the air that can hurt us. So again, I'm not saying HEPA filters aren't good. It's that they have some restrictions that mean that they aren't as good as everybody seems to think they are. So the other thing is HEPA filters don't kill. I mentioned that. But you'll see units on the marketplace that have UV lights, and they shine a UV light onto the side of the filter where the pathogens are captured. Those units do kill. The UV light, the ultraviolet light, just like the ultraviolet light from the sun, they will kill. So those kinds of HEPA filters are good because they have that ability to also kill, the viruses and bacteria that are captured by the filter. But if somebody's going to buy one, you really have to make sure, caution people to watch and make sure that the UV light, that system has got UL 2998 certification as proof that the unit doesn't emit ozone. Most UV lights emit ozone. So this is something important to look for. The UL 2998 certification was brought out just a couple of years ago because there's so many companies selling ozone generators as air purification systems. I just think it's unethical. Ozone's not good for you. Just plain and simple, it's not good for you. People know ozone works, it does, but you just can't have people in the room. You can't have people in the room. You can't have animals in the room, or plants, I believe. So when we talk about this air and surface purification being reinvented, it's about talking about, rather than capturing particles and thereby capturing potentially 50%, or in many cases, like in the surgical suite, I shouldn't say many, 99% of the viruses and bacteria in the air. What these units do is these ions are in the air around you. Whatever room you're in right now probably has, of the types of ions we're talking about, might have between 30 and 80 ions per cubic centimeter in the air around you. So we know in science, the people in Puraclenz know in science, that once those types of ions get up to around 300 ions per cubic centimeter in the air, that's when they kill viruses and bacteria. That's the sweet spot. So what all these units do is they're an artificial way of creating ions. It's the same kind of, it's ions like ions that are generated by lightning. If you have a lightning storm, when a lightning storm happens, there are tens of hundreds of thousands of ions in the air around you. And it's those ions that actually kill the pollution in the air around you. And that's why after a storm, the air smells so fresh. Those ions that are generated by electricity are a different type. You need a lot more of them to kill, but they still kill. The ions that are generated artificially, there's two different ways to do it, a couple major ways to do it. The one is the way our system works, which is called photocatalytic oxidation, PCO. And the other is through, there's a couple of different names, but there's pinpoint ionizers and bipolar ionizing systems. So basically they have a couple of electrodes that stick up and the electricity runs in between them, an arc, and that actually generates ions that are generated by electricity. Those kinds of units that artificially generate ions through the use of electricity, those are the ones where you need really high numbers in the tens of thousands of ions in order for them to actually kill. But they still kill, they work. On the negative side, studies have shown that they have a detrimental effect on the VOCs in the air, in the room, volatile organic compounds. We've probably all heard that term. every room you're in, every indoor space has VOCs. It's generated by carpets, by wood products that you have, materials, or there's VOCs in the air. Some of these oil diffusers that they're selling to people, they put tons of VOCs in the air that aren't healthy. So these VOCs, generally speaking, are innocuous. You know, if they get too high, they're not good for you. They're obviously, none is better. But what these systems would do, the units that generate ions through electronic means, is they would take the existing VOCs in the air and alter them and change them into real friendly VOCs like formaldehyde. so they're not safe. It's just there's some concern in the marketplace for the safety level of these units that can, you know, really create dangerous levels of VOCs in the air. So our unit will increase the amount of ions in the air. We want to get them to, you know, the number I told you about, 300 ions per cubic centimeter, so that they'll kill. But our goal when we do the testing, and if we rate, we have 3 different units. So if we have a unit that we say will cover 3,000 square feet, we know that that unit will generate at least 500 ions per cubic centimeter in the air over the entire 3,000 square foot of space. So here's the historical issues with, and I have to apologize, I'm supposed to get this fixed. This shouldn't say PCO. Historical issues with ion generating systems. The first one is the use or development of ozone. In our case, we have both the UL 2998 certification as proof that they're completely ozone free. And we also have the California Air Resource Board approval, CARB approval. And I think most people know that it's widely recognized as the toughest indoor air quality standard in the world. The second is a concern that's more related to the bipolar ionizers or pinpoint ionizers, like I had mentioned, about creating concern and sometimes dangerous levels of VOCs in the air. So in our case, what we did to be able to prove that our units don't do this with VOCs, we went to a company called Intertech. If any of you don't know what Intertech is, grab you know, any product that you have. I'm trying to think, I should have looked at this before but you grab pretty much any product you have in your house and look on the bottom, you'll probably see it's got an Intertech label on it for the approval. Intertech is the certification and testing company. It's the largest one in the world for approval for standards on the market. So we went to Intertech, the people that, Puraclenz went to Intertech, and Intertech said that they could do the tests for the VOCs, but that they felt that their equipment wasn't as capable as what we probably want to do if we wanted to do a really, really tough check on whether our units create any concerning levels of VOCs. So they recommended that we bring in a company called R.J. Lee Scientific, because R.J. Lee has the most stringent, the toughest, the toughest equipment in the world for being able to test volatile organic compounds in the air. So when R.J. Lee and Intertech did the tests, they found that even when you run our units at 15,000, approximately 15,000 ions per cubic centimeter in the air, you know, pushing it that hard, which is about 30 times the level our units would normally run in a space, around 500 ions or so. Even then, the VOC levels that are in the air was still, at the worst case scenario, 35 times below the OSHA standards for safe use around people. So it's pretty great results. And in combination, these 3 levels of tests speak to safety, that you don't have to worry about using systems around people. It's not just words. You know, it's one of the things you'll see with so many of these companies. They have tons of stuff on their website, but when you actually look at their test data, it's sad. So some of the benefits of the units is that they destroy pathogens midair. If somebody's in a room and they cough, these ions in the air will attack it immediately. You don't have to wait till they get to a filter and hopefully be captured. The other really cool part is that they clean exposed surfaces as well. So when people go through and clean by hand or whatever way they're cleaning, you never get everything. And with a unit like this, it's the ions are touching everything that's exposed. They won't get back into the walls, but anything that's exposed, they'll work. I'll get through the test results later, a little bit later, but they kill viruses, bacteria, and mold. And this is, again, the same point. It's not just when you're cleaning and disinfecting the space once a day in a commercial environment, typically. These are units 24 hours a day. You know, when you do normal cleaning and disinfecting, which you still have to do, like we'd never say not to do it, that's for sure. As soon as you walk away from that space that you just cleaned, it starts getting dirty again. With a unit like ours running in the space, those ions are continuously cleaning. And you'll see through the test results we got, we're hitting around 95% clean levels on surfaces. So that level, that means every door handle, every elevator button, every keyboard, every phone, you know, every surface people touch is constantly being cleaned 24 hours a day. And they're actually being cleaned to a level higher than what we get when we wash our hands, where you're hitting around 90% clean level. So it gives you an idea of how, you know, how much they have the ability to help keep us safer. So this is what the cutaway of what the unit looks like. So the air comes in the bottom and then goes through this chamber. And inside here, there's several UV lights that shine onto this cell. And these cells are covered with titanium dioxide. And the light from the UV light shines on the inside of each of those veins and then reflects back and shines on the outside of the corresponding vein beside it. I see I have a couple of people with their hands raised. Let's see what this is. So what it does is because it's like that, because it's generating the ions from, allowed to talk. Okay, Dean would like to ask a question. Go ahead, Dean. You're on mute though. Dean, it's showing that you're on mute. Okay, we're gonna.
I actually didn't have a question.
Oh,
I don't know how that came up.
Oh, okay, no problem, Dean. It showed as you raised your hand. So you know what? It was probably because you're about to clap in joy.
Yes, there you go, for sure. Very interesting, Dave.
I'm just kidding. Thanks. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Keep going.
No problem. Okay.
I'm new at this too.
Yeah, we all. Okay, so Keith, you had a question. You can go ahead. It's showing you as being muted as well. So.
No, I must have hit that by accident. But
Okay.
Can you start over the whole thing? I had clients.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again, Keith?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now.
No, I just raised it by accident there. I'm
Okay.
good.
Okay, no problem. I'll keep going. So sorry, what I was getting to here is that the ultraviolet light, instead of just hitting one surface like most units do, this multiplies the ions by shining on the side of the other vein. The size of this unit, the amount of ions it creates of this type of ion is incredibly high. The unit's only about 5 inches round, 11 inches tall. They generate more ions per cubic centimeter than you know, there's a unit on the market that's sold by a company called AERUS, A-E-R-U-S. And, you know, we think they have a unit that works. You know, from what we can see, they also have the UL 2998 approval. So, you know, they're definitely safe to use around people. But, you know, their unit is literally 20 times bigger to cover 1,800 square foot. What ours does in 3,000 square feet. So their unit is probably 10, 11 inches wide by 30 inches long with 30, 32 inches tall. It's like a small case, like a typical drum type humidifier. So they're pretty big and they cover 1,800 square feet. Our unit is much, much smaller. The biggest one covers 3,000 square feet. Their unit that covers 1,800 square feet costs about $4,500 Canadian, 37, I think, US, and ours are 700 Canadian. Theirs are 500 US. So big difference in cost to get a unit that does actually more. So here's some of the results. When you look at the tests that were done for the aerosol kill on viruses, we hit 99.4%, bacteria 95.4%, mold 95.1%. What's really significant here with both the virus and bacteria test, everybody already knows mold's unbelievably hard to kill. But in the virus test and the bacteria test, we picked what's called virus, we picked MS2 bacteriophage. It's got the name bacteria in it, even though it's a virus, because it's a type of virus that only kills bacteria. It eats and kills bacteria. And because of that, it's harmless to humans. So it's a great virus to use and test in laboratories because you don't have to worry about people being around it. You know, it's really difficult to have tests done on the actual COVID virus because people have to be around it. So the only place you can safely do tests on those types of things is in a level 3 containment facility. You might be familiar with these facilities that have that are incredibly safe and where you can store dangerous diseases and hopefully prevent them from escaping. So to test SARS-CoV-2, you have to be in a level 3 containment facility, and there's not that many of them around. We have one in Canada, Plum Island in the United States, off of New York City is another one. There's a few of them in the US. But in our case, we tested the MS2 bacteriophage for two reasons. First, it's safe, and you don't have to go to the huge expense of using one of the level 3 containment facilities. Still very expensive to do the test, but MS2 bacteriophage is what's called a non-envelope virus. And there's two different types of viruses out there, and two main classes of viruses. One's called envelope viruses, the other's non-envelope viruses. Non-envelope viruses are incredibly difficult to kill, really, really difficult to kill. So generally, and this is accepted by the EPA and Health Canada, if you show that you can kill something that's more difficult to kill than what you're worried about, you can assume that you're going to kill the easier thing to kill. And the analogy I like to use is if you have a gun that can shoot 10 feet of concrete, you don't have to test to see if it'll shoot through a foot of concrete. You know, if you've proven you can kill something that's incredibly difficult to kill, you're almost certainly going to be able to kill the easier to kill things. And the interesting thing that most people don't know is most of the diseases that affect us, as humans, are envelope viruses. They're incredibly easy to kill. So COVID is one of them. Very, very easy virus to kill. The SARS that hit us in 2003, the other SARS virus, incredibly easy to kill. AIDS is one of them. Influenza, all the flus, influenza that kills so many people every year. Very, very easy to kill. So in our test, we hit 99.4% kill on a very difficult to kill virus. So that's significant. Same thing on the bacteria side. When you look at Staphylococcus epidermidis, this is a bacteria that is recognized as a surrogate for methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus MRSA, you've probably heard of. Very, very, very difficult to kill. Tuberculosis, which is accepted as the most difficult. The Mycobacteria tuberculosis is accepted as the most difficult virus on Earth to kill. And many of you probably heard of C. difficile. So we tested against an incredibly difficult virus to kill and got 95.4% kill. Mold, we got 95.1. These are crazy high numbers, great numbers. If you put one of the units in a space that has mold, I'll tell you from experience, it'll take a while. It could take 4 to 6 weeks to kill the actual mold that's there. But the biggest benefit when it comes up to mold and even bacteria and viruses is if you have the unit running in a room, you won't get mold, plain and simple, because you're not going to let the spores start to develop. Same thing with bacteria. You get biofilms because the bacteria builds and builds and builds and builds, and next thing you get a bacteria, and you can end up with some of these really incredibly difficult to kill things. When you've got a system like this running, it's cleaning the surfaces, up to about over 95% level, 24 hours a day. So it's a great preventative. It's just not good to wait until something happens before you do something. So having these units running is something that can make a dramatic difference in the safety levels in a facility. So this is a chart on the kill rates that we got against the MS2 bacteriophage. And the test was run 3 different times and then averaged out. So when we see those numbers, we say a 99.4% kill. That's the average of the 3 tests. And one of the interesting things that you'll see on this chart is the test. Remember I mentioned how we did all the tests under GLP standards, the general laboratory practice standards. You have to, if you want to get your product approved by the FDA as a medical device, you have to do your tests under the GLP standards. And the GLP standards can't be changed. If you change it, it's not a GLP study. So one of the parameters in using and doing a test on air purifiers that the GLP standards require is that you're not allowed to turn the air purifier on until after you nebulize the virus in the chamber, like spray it. It's basically, I forget the word, there's another word. You're basically misting the virus into the chamber, might be a good way to put it. So the GLP standards say you can't turn the purifier on until after you put the virus in the chamber. And for us, and that makes sense for a HEPA filter, where you want to put the virus in there, turn the filter on and see how good the filter works over a period of time. In our case, it put us at a significant disadvantage because our units aren't meant to work that way. Like our units are meant to be running 24 hours a day so that when the virus enters the room, an infected person coughs or sneezes, those ions are already in the air, ready to attack. That's so because we're doing, we wanted to get the medical approval, we had to do the tests under the GLP standards. And that's what this is showing, the chart you're looking at. And you'll see that it took about 2 hours for the ion levels to build up to a point where all of a sudden then they got to, around that 300 ions per cubic centimeter. And then they started killing, so then you can see the dramatic drops, so that after 7 hours, you got this kind of a kill rate where we got to the 99.4% kill. So because we wanted to find out what would happen if you put the virus into a room that already had the ions in the room. One of the things that we did different than any other company on the market, I've not found a single study that was done the same way we've done it. Companies will take their ionizing system and put it in the chamber and just turn it on and then run the viral test. They don't tell you how high the ion levels got in the chamber. And they also don't give you any proof whatsoever that their unit can generate whatever that unknown ion level was, that their unit can also generate that same amount of ions in the space that the unit is rated for. So if you have a unit that they say is rated for 1,800 square feet, it was only tested in a 16 cubic meter chamber, like a tiny, I'll show you a picture. It's coming up. It's just a small room, 10 by 10 by 10 room, basically. Sure, the unit might have killed inside that little test chamber, but you don't know how high the ion levels got, and you definitely don't know if it can achieve it over the whole space. So we did the exact opposite. We did it backwards. First, we found out how many cubic feet of space can our units generate at 500 ions per cubic centimeter. And so if we say a 3,000 unit, the P3000 or Q63000 unit can cover 3,000 square feet, we're saying that because we know it can, and we can prove it, that it can generate those at least 500 ions per cubic centimeter over 3,000 square feet of space. And then when the test is done, we run the test at 500 ions per cubic centimeter, not run it super high and turn the inside of that room into a microwave, basically, which could be happening with other units. And the thing is, you don't know. That's the problem. So in our case, all our tests were done at the sweet spot of around 500 ions per cubic centimeter, because we know at 300, they kill viruses and bacteria. So you want some buffer in there because the viruses eat up ions, and you want to have more there in case something's happened. So what we did was we had a separate test done, the exact same test, except we had them run the unit to get the level of ions in the room to 500 ions per cubic centimeter before putting the virus into the chamber. And when we did that, in 5 minutes, the unit was able to kill 50% of the viruses in the room. And interestingly, that's, if you remember what I talked about earlier, that's the level that a HEPA filter reaches after about an hour. So this unit performed extremely well as long as the ions are already there. And that's the way they're designed to run. And even if under the GLP standards, we still got great results, but you know, you get better results if you leave a unit running. Points to remember: very small units. They're rated 750, 1,500 or 3,000 square feet. You can mount them on the wall or the ceiling. So if you want them to be out of prying hands, they can be mounted just like a smoke detector, which is great. Here's a picture of one on the wall. They're very, very low cost. They only run between 8 and 15 watts of energy consumption. Very, very low cost. And there's a picture of the 3 units in the cell. So this is the cell. So the cell, the cells are designed to last 25,000 hours before they peter out. So that's 2.8 years. So we say change the units are set to change to put a new cell in after every 2.5 years, just to leave a little bit of safety factor in there. The unit will actually tell you when the cell needs to be replaced. If the cell is ready to be replaced, the unit will actually shut off and a light will turn on the unit, telling you to take a look. And then there's a chart that will tell you what message it's giving you. Same thing will happen if the filter needs to be changed. The unit will shut off and the light will turn on. So you'll see this bright red light on the end of the unit to alert you to come take a look at the unit and read what the trouble code is. And this here, just a little overview video on the unit.
Introducing the next generation of indoor air purification. Puraclenz is designed to deactivate viruses, bacteria, and other harmful pathogens in the air and on exposed surfaces. Puraclenz provides continuous indoor coverage in your workspace at a fraction of the cost of systems that require complicated installation and maintenance. Why is Puraclenz the right commercial air purifier for your workplace? It's powerful. Puraclenz works by using an evolved form of photocatalytic oxidation, commonly known as PCO, a process originally developed to provide cleaner air for astronauts. An internal UV light reflects onto a patented titanium catalyst to generate a very high density of positive and negatively charged ions. These ions cling to and deactivate pathogens mid-air and on exposed surfaces, dynamically cleaning throughout an indoor space. Suction-based filtration systems, on the other hand, trap pathogens that travel through their HEPA filter. Puraclenz is proven to be over 99% effective in reducing viruses. Just one P3000 unit is designed to clean a space up to 3,000 square feet. Puraclenz is safe to use continuously around people and animals in critical environments such as schools and restaurants. Because unlike some ionic purifiers, Puraclenz produces no fumes or ozone. It's effortless. Puraclenz allows continuous 24/7 cleaning within an interior location and requires no training. Its elegant, compact design makes it easy to install on walls or ceilings or use as a portable unit. Puraclenz is helping businesses to reopen. Welcome to the future of clean.
Here's another video. This shows how easy it is to replace the cell. So every 2.5 years, the unit's going to shut off. You're going to see a red light on it. You're going to wonder why. You go take a look and you read the chart, and it'll tell you you got to replace the cell. And that's it. It's that easy. One of the interesting things is if you don't put that cell in properly, the unit won't turn on. A light will come on and tell you the cell's not placed properly. If you don't put the lid back in properly and turn it to a click solid, it'll give you a message telling you the lid's not on properly. So if it needs the filter change, there's a video I'll show you changing the filter. Same thing, the unit will shut off, the light will turn on, and it'll tell you change the filter. Really important to note, these filters can be washed. So just in some dish soap and water and rinse them out. They can be washed probably about 6 times we expect. before they need replacing. So that's one of the benefits for the customers. Don't know what you mean, sorry. So that's the end of the presentation, you guys. If you have any questions, actually, I forgot. There's one other thing I wanted to show you. I'm going to switch screens here to help people know how many units that they need to order. We have on our website, and we can send you copies of it. It's just an Excel file, and we have a unit calculator that you can use to figure out how many units you actually need. So one of the, and this is something else that no other company I've seen in the 2.5 years that we've been doing this. Not one other company has something like this. Ions work, they definitely work, but they also get used up. So depending upon what types of materials are in the room or how many people you have in the room, all of us are covered. It's scary to think, but we're all covered in bacteria. The ions will kill the bacteria in your skin. If you have a lot of animals in the room, they use up bacteria. They use up the ions. If you have sick people in the room, they use up the ions. If you have plastic, a lot of plastic generates static electricity. So these units will actually kill static electricity in the room. I used to work in the semiconductor business, and we used ion generators all throughout the production facility to prevent static electricity from building up, because static will destroy semiconductors. So it's one of the other benefits. So the unit itself, this will tell you based on the space you're going to put the units in. It'll tell you how many you need. And one of the things we never want to do is sell somebody more units than they need. It's a core principle of our company to make sure we set up our customers with what they need and nothing more. We all have constraints when it comes up to money, and if short-term game isn't worth it to us, it's just more important to make sure that they've got what they need and no more. So all you need to do is go in here and type in the amount of square footage of space, the ceiling height. Main reason, this is, you'll see here, bacterium, fungus, mold, or VOCs. Sorry, bacterium, viruses, mold, fungus, and VOCs. You pick which one is the main issue you've got in your area, because that makes a difference. How many adults, how many children, how many animals, how many hours per day that people are in the space, how much fresh air. You don't have to know, look at the word to stress, just click this drop down link, and is it, very low amount of fresh air. People complain of sick building. Medium is probably what you're going to use for most average settings. High, restaurants and factories, and very high, commercial kitchen, those kinds of places. If you're in animal health, I would place it into the very high category. We actually should add it in there. Most common type of flooring, same thing, it's a drop down. Concrete, carpet, loose weave carpet, rubber, exposed dirt, turf. Just go through these and answer all the questions. If you don't know the answer, just skip by it. It's not absolutely critical. Do people smoke in the facility? These ions destroy smoke. If you go into many people in this group, I'm sure, have gone into a casino, and they have these units mounted on the ceiling in the US only, where you're allowed to smoke in a casino. Those are actually ozone generators, sorry to say, but the ions that are generated destroy the smoke smell. So yeah, that's just an excellent little tool to be able to use. Okay, that's the end of the presentation. Where is my, and somehow or another I've lost my meeting controls. So if anybody has any questions, let me know. I see we have one chat here. If you take a look in the chat line, the pages are listed in the chat where you can get the videos as well as the unit installation calculator. I don't know if there's any other questions at all. So, you know, the bottom line here is it's another tool. You know, we always look at, and even before we were working with Puraclenz, when we dealt in the cleaning and disinfecting space, we've always considered the need for a multiple level of approach when you're dealing with disease. And, you know, we've been really successful. Our company been around over 17 years. Our main market up until a few years ago, it was before COVID, we actually decided to move into the human health space. And we've focused on animal health, which may sound to some a little odd, but animal health is a far more difficult space to control disease than human health. And simply because of the amount of soils and feces and bad air, bad everything. and you know, much like I was talking about earlier, if you could kill the toughest stuff, you're going to have a better chance. You should be able to easily kill the easier to kill things. If the things that we do in animal health bode well in human health, because we can help. You know, we have a really good sense of how to take care of disease and in some really tough situations. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency, if there's avian influenza outbreak in Canada, our people help them. You know, they use our protocols, they use our equipment, they use our chemistry for taking care of the farms that are in trouble. So we have some great people working with us, and we'd be happy to help you guys. So we have every Thursday at 1 o'clock, we have a general video webinar just like this one, that you're welcome to have any customers that you might have that are interested in it. You know, I've always thought it's not fair to expect salespeople to know everything you need to know about every product they carry. Like, it's crazy. Many salespeople carry hundreds or thousands of products. Like, it's just ridiculous to think that it's just not a fair expectations. So that's why we're doing this. You know, we want to help salespeople be successful, and we want customers to get what they need. And by doing that, we can all, you know, help each other, make a difference. So I'm just checking to see if we have any questions. Otherwise, so I don't know if I missed anything. Heather, if you can think, is there anything that maybe I missed, or Carlo? Feel free to speak up. But otherwise, that's the end. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Feel free to reach out. Oh, somebody just asked, what's the price of the replacement cell? The replacement cells are $199 Canadian. Yeah. If you look at the 5-year cost of owning one of our units, and we can send you a chart. Actually, Heather's just making a pretty version of it now. But we have the 3,000 square foot unit to have it operate for 5 years costs around $1,100 bucks, I think. So people are getting, you know, coverage, 3,000 square foot of coverage for about 1,300, sorry, I think it is for the 3,000, and it drops down to about $1,050 or $1,100 for the 750. So, you know, comparably, it's so much less expensive. You know, if people are going to use the HEPA filters, you got to buy one for every single room in the building. And, you know, it's like changing HEPA filters. So Alex, do we do the presentations in French? I can't, but we could arrange it. We do have, that's actually a really cool idea. So that's something we should look at. We have, we could do that. Yeah, we could do that. And I couldn't say we could do it next week, but we could do it. We could arrange it. Yeah. So if you really are interested, that's something we can put together, and we're going to put it together anyway. So thank you for that suggestion, Alex. You know, when I was young, I couldn't speak any English, only French. And now I've forgotten all my French, so I'm embarrassed. Anyways. I see we have. Okay, that's the end. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Appreciate your time. Bye-bye.